One School, One Planet project. We're talking to people about climate change and the reality of the Paris Agreement and the fact that our economy is currently has to go to a completely different place. Respond to the commitments and the challenges of responding to climate change. Basically, we have to halve our emissions in 10 years, and then we have to do it again in the next 10 years, and then we have to do it again. How are we going to do this? We're going to work together. We're going to form partnerships between different schools, and we're going to create a dialogue about what this actually means. Halving our emissions in 10 years is a lot more than just turning down the thermostat and wearing an extra woolly jumper, driving a Honda Prius. It's going to affect our food supply. We're going to start to have to meet our needs in a very different way and from much more local and natural resources. I think we're looking at a whole new kind of economy. And if you think about it, if we get off oil, which is and coal, we can create electricity from other sources. We can have, obviously solar and wind and tidal and all that sort of stuff, geothermal. But 100% of our transport and 100% of our agriculture is powered by diesel and petrol, obviously, and the petrochemicals that are the feedstocks, all of the foods that we eat. Technology can't replace this. There isn't some other available sort of source of liquid fuel that we can start putting to our tanks. We're going to have to completely replace the whole infrastructure of the economy and start thinking about how meeting our needs in a different way. Well, welcome to permaculture. Welcome to the permaculture way of thinking. Way of thinking about, actually, it's not about self-sufficiency, but it's about realizing that we can produce actually a significant part of what we need, 20%, 30%, actually 60, 70% of what we need, just from local resources, from around about, from where we live, just through design, by catching hold of nutrients, water, sunshine, by harnessing the energy of people, by joining people together to work, and which landscapes get managed, food can be picked and produced, just part of our everyday. And this is just it's a design strategy of thinking, permaculture, but really it's based on the experience of humans over much longer periods of time, when we're reminded that most people lived on seasonal foods that they've grown and prepared themselves. Oh, just a little bit like it is in Uganda. So welcome to Sabina School. That whole little preamble really was to get you to feel excited about the potentials of using the frame of climate change and responding to climate change to start to see this as a massive opportunity, is to think and behave differently, to be really creative, to create some different narratives, and to create some new possibilities. So back in 2008, Sabina School, which is an orphanage, it's in the heart of the region where the global HIV epidemic began, really many orphan kids and stuff like that, and obviously there's some resources for that, and Sabina's a great school. And in 2008, a team of Australian permaculture designers, Rosemary Morrow, Domain 1, came over there, and as far as I know, they undertook to do a permaculture design on the site of the school. So it's a design that harvests all of the runoff of any surface flow of water, encourages that to soak into the ground, and then plants strategically around that in a way in which it could, in a very low maintenance and very low input way, can turn what was a hammered little bare piece of flat earth around a school into a productive, edible food forest. His designs, visualize a transition from the beginning, getting the original kind of infrastructure into place, and then they kind of take you through a sequence of how that might evolve. We found all the original work still there at Sabina. We photographed the whole album. It's really beautiful to see the thinking, the design, the thought that went into the school, what is actually coming up to 10 years ago. So it's a really interesting anniversary. A really interesting time to be going back there. I mean, a quick sort of, we've been Sector39. We've been working with partners Dol and Fermio for the last 2-3 years in a place called Kamuli in the eastern district of Uganda, and we've run a couple of permaculture courses there. We've made some friends and connections, This time we've partnered up with some local Ugandan organisations, the Permaculture Research Institute of Uganda, and also Broadfield Enterprises Uganda and a permaculture design team. We went to Sabina School, we met with the head, we met with the students, we looked at the site, and it's a wonderful place, it's a wonderful resource, and we definitely want to host our next full PDC Permaculture Design Certificate course at Sabina School. That'll be going to be in May 2018. It's mainly targeted to Africans. In UK money, it's £250 a place for African students to attend, and there are some opportunities for international students at £550, and obviously that increased fee helps cross-fund for other students. So there's going to be 60 places on the course. We're going to run it in sort of 4 design groups, each working around a different theme. One of those themes will be looking at edible landscaping, food forests, permaculture growing systems, and really kind of pushing at the edges of thinking about how to use and how to incorporate the ideas within permaculture and sharing sort of knowledge around that. The second team will be looking about bringing permaculture into education, permacultural schools specifically. We'll be trying to working with teachers and educationalists in that one. The third group will be looking around energy, biogas, biochar, rotational coppice, carbon sequestration, all of that sort of energy side of things, which is obviously so essential. We'll also be, the fourth workshop actually be around permaculture and enterprise, and there will be running some new sessions that we're designing for looking at how to develop your own permaculture enterprise and how to use permaculture design to start new businesses and so forth, and looking at different business models for that. So it's going to be a really exciting course, and it's going to be even more exciting to be hosting it at this really great venue. We're going to have the run of the school for 2 weeks. We're going to work with the school actually for up to 6 months beforehand. We're already planning and talking to them about this. We want to have 2 on-site garden volunteers helping prepare the site for up to 6 months, and then for 3 months before it begins, we're going to have 2 volunteers from Wales, from Llanmartin High School, ex-students from there, hopefully to come and also help build the links between the site, the students, and Wales. And we're doing a lot of social media work and stuff like that. So it's going to be really exciting. And then, but to kind of, I thought, having gone to the effort of bringing these people together in this place, we're going to try and sort of close off the event with holding a 2-day East African Permaculture Convergence. So it's going to be on the 28th and 29th of May, which is a Monday and Tuesday, following the final weekend of the PDC. We're hopefully offering site tours of Permaculture Research Institute of Uganda Farm at Bawama, which is on the way to Masaka, near to which is Sabina School. And this will be following on from a 2-week residential, as I said, permaculture certificate course, which we are recruiting for. We're looking for. There's going to be some sort of pre-selection questions and things we'll put out to candidates who are interested. There will be some funding, but we're also really looking for partners who can bring at least some core costs behind each student to make the course viable. And we're also feeding out in the UK to see if we can find an appropriate sponsor. But really nice to be able to get some recognition for what we're doing. And I think there's a coalition that needs to form between people in education and learning and creating learning opportunities for people who are going into permaculture, and also for things like financial institutions and business enablement organisations to actually to really help kickstart permaculture enterprise. There's so many new businesses, if you like, that need to be nurtured to meet the needs of and respond to the opportunities of what's coming. I mean, we're going to have to reinvent the food system over the next 3 decades. It has to become carbon negative as quickly as possible. We're only going to do that organically. We're only going to do that with a mainly relocalized, mainly organic food growing system. We're going to have to integrate into that lots of composting strategies, of biochar strategies, things that build very high carbon soils. That means a lot more hands-on farming. It means farming with perennials, with fruit trees, with creating long-term sustainable yields in mixed, diverse landscapes. No more monocultures, no more treating animals like just economic units. We've got to think differently. And it's Sabina, it's all there. They've got it in place, and because they've got an on-site community of students who are resident there, as well as facilitators. They've been able to sort of keep the system going and moving forward. It's got a few of the elements that were put in originally have dropped out, and especially small livestock. I think it's difficult for schools to really attend to things like that. And there's still next levels of implementation to be done. We're really looking to bring in biogas and wood gas making. But the basics are all there. They've got the infrastructure in there. They've got a great staff. They've got a really positive attitude. They're already growing a lot of their food. It's all organic. They're well on their way. So we're tremendously excited to be building this partnership and for them to host this visit. And we want to create the most of this opportunity. So we're really reaching out to people who want to get involved, I don't know, donate, just help promote it. We want to make this like a showcase of permaculture, not just for East Africa. This is Africa's chance to kind of shine out and to reach out and to shine out something really positive to the rest of the world and go, look, this is what we're doing. We're creating self-feeding schools. We're creating schools that produce no waste. We're creating a learning environment that sequestrates carbon and is good for wildlife and is getting our kids to have a really healthy diet. It's becoming a selling point for the school, actually, that kids are getting access to a lot more fruit and veg than perhaps they would at other schools. I mean, these are residential schools. How can you resist these lovely schoolgirls? These are actually on their permaculture class. They've been gathering seeds. They've got avocados. They've got aubergines. They've got all sorts of different yields from the garden, and you can just see how much they're loving it and how much they're enjoying it. And this should be every school, right? It's so easy to do this. It's so easy to create an environment that actually, it stops being about climate change. It's just becoming about having a healthy school community, vibrant, people working together, creating a common vision, which they really had